This is Asha Saxena, founder and CEO of Women Leaders in Data and AI. I'm so glad and happy to be with Danielle Cloud. Danielle, do you want to give a quick introduction?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today, Asha. My name is Danielle Cloud, and I am a Senior Vice President for our data governance and platforms at American Express.
Wonderful. Listen, Danielle, it's a month of Women's History Month. I love doing these sessions, having conversations with other women during this month because I think there's so much we all can share and share our experience. Hopefully, somebody will benefit from that. So, first of all, happy March, happy Women's History Month to you.
Oh, same to you.
So, just before we jump into our technical conversation and talk about data governance and change management, I want to just talk about women in technology. I think it's such a important topic that women has a representation in data and AI. Tell me a little bit about when you grew up in this industry. What was it like, and how do you feel about it today?
Yeah. So like I was, early in my career, I was very interested in technology. I had studied industrial engineering, and it was, for its time, I think it was probably one of the disciplines that had more women compared to some of the other engineering disciplines. But even then, we were not a force. And I started with American Express as an intern, and I saw the diversity of the company, but I still would say women were rising. And it was awesome to see them rising and working hard and coming into different leadership positions. And I think over my years, and it's been 23 years now that I've worked at American Express, I think now the next generation of women, including myself and maybe even a few more before me, and definitely I hope the group after me, we're not only still rising, but we're turning around and we're helping other women rise. And it's this exponential effect of, helping women say, yeah, you can do it all, right? I have 3 children. We have the work-life balance going on. You can, learn and you can be supported. And I just think this month is amazing to celebrate. And for my daughter, who's 11, right, I'm pushing her just as hard to be like, you can be anything you want to be. So, definitely
What is
take the time to, celebrate this month and look back, because it wasn't that long ago. We still were watching women, rising. And now there's just so many more doing it and turning around to help others. It's amazing.
I love that what you said. I think a lot of times people would say that, oh, a few decades before, or sometimes women don't help other women, and I think now things are changing. When I grew up in engineering, computer science, and I did my undergrad and grad in engineering, and I remember being just a small percentage in the class of these girls who are in the engineering classes. And listen, I started my career as an engineer. I built few companies, and I tell you that now that when I look around, especially in build up, when I started women leaders in data and AI, my whole goal was to bring women leaders together. And very quickly, male allies stepped in, and they said, "We want to be a part of this cause," which I think is so wonderful. That we do want to see more women in the field of technology. And I always say that pandemic was such a great time because it made me reflect, and I think a lot of people reflected a lot during the pandemic. And as fast the digital wave happened, a lot of companies really moved on digital platforms because of the hybrid workforce. But really, I think the data and AI leaders really got a place where they could actually make an impact. And having a number, I somewhere read 18% of women are coding algorithm, and that was really disturbing. And I think that the fact that the women are coming together, and even in Wilda, the women coming together to support each other, to make sure that they're promoting each other and they're encouraging each other, is really heartwarming. And I think this month is so great because women all around the globe is celebrating this month, which is fabulous.
Yeah, I think you said it so well. And look, I had the opportunity to participate with Wilda in New York at the session that you put together, and it was phenomenal. And we saw like women, helping each other and even experimenting with some of the technology and NFT. And it was really amazing to be part of all of that and to see so many women talking about, their craft and how we can help one another.
It was so wonderful to see the president of Drone Racing League to be a
Yes,
woman. You know,
yes. She was so inspiring, and like just like, hey, I was working in basketball and I can do this now with such like a technical thing like drone racing, and very inspiring.
wonderful. So let's change the topic a little bit and talk about data governance. You've spent a lot of time in the world of data, but when we talk about data governance and how important data governance is, I think we both have probably seen that the organization who take that onto really making a data governance initiative successful, sometimes there are challenges. Can you talk a little bit about what you've done in American Express in making data governance a success?
Sure. So look, I think at American Express, we believe that data powers everything, right? Our goal is to have the world's best customer experiences. And it's really tough to do that if the data is not reliable, or the data is not correct. And so we've always been very focused on our data. I think what has come together for us in recent years is just, how important, as we're launching new products, as there's so many different kind of modernization and transformations of applications, and as new tools are becoming available to users, how do we really use the governance program, not just to kind of like meet any of our compliance related topics or risk related topics, because that's table stakes, right? But how do we actually use it to help grow our business, as well as attract the best talent in the industry? So a lot of our program that we've had is been now trying to say, okay, data is important to everybody. And so everybody has a role to play in data. So we have got our senior management in line to be very supportive of creating actually data roles. So we have job codes now for data stewards and for data custodians. These were things that we kind of were doing on the side of product or on the side of engineering. And we said, hey, this is not a sidecar thing. Like, we need people to make sure that they understand what is this data's purpose, what is the lineage through different systems. As those systems are modernizing, how is that changing? How are users consuming it? What can they expect from it? How can we guarantee like the quality of it? So then again, we have the best things that are coming out for insights for driving, for any of the models that we're building, for any of the reporting that we have. It's a game changer, and it's not easy because you do have, everybody saying, okay, I've got to figure out now how to fit this in with all of these other priorities. And so I think that it's been a great challenge, I would say, to help raise the awareness, the training, and really the buy-in and the support to kind of now grow these roles within our company.
I think the organizations who really focus on data, we've seen that right over and over again. Netflix, Starbucks, Domino's. We can have case studies after case study where companies who actually take advantage of data can get ahead much faster than the companies who are not. And I think that 2018 there was a report where they said they were comparing legacy organization to data-driven organization. They said Airbnb doesn't own any vehicle, but BMW, who owns vehicle, Airbnb exceeded the market cap. They spoke about Airbnb compared to Marriott, and they said Airbnb, who knows how to monetize data, was ahead of the game compared to the legacy companies. And then 2020, we saw this whole shift of the companies who actually did well in pandemic were the companies who were actually taking advantage of the data, like Amazon. I mean, completely, went ahead. And then in 2022, November, ChatGPT comes out. ChatGPT completely changes, 5 days, 1 million users. It was crazy, right? And then people are skeptics about talking about that, it doesn't work well, but there's enough there. The ChatGPT really works on the data that's available to it. But how do commercial organizations, the large organization adapt to that? It's AI is everywhere, right? AI is everywhere, but organization need to get ready and create the foundation. And I think that's what you were talking about is how important the data governance is to create the foundation.
No, you're absolutely right. Like, I think, you've always heard the expression garbage in, garbage
Yeah.
out. And so, when we think about data governance, it is about making sure that there is ownership and accountability, like that steward for the data, being able to capture it, the metadata in a discoverable catalog, the lineage, right? How is that data, transmitted through different processes, experiences, systems, and then therefore, how can it be used, and making sure that the quality that you can count on is there, it's trusted, so that again, you have these amazing reports, experiences, insights, models. Even when we think about some of the new possibilities that these tools are unlocking, those possibilities will fall down if the actual data that's feeding them is inaccurate, incomplete, and bad. And so I think understanding your business, understanding how data is used for all of those core things that you do and that you service will only then make the technology that's evolving around us that much stronger, and the ability to now kind of use these tools to unlock the new possibilities. It's exciting.
When we talk about the trust in the data, I think that personally, I go into board meetings, and if I don't trust the data, I'm like, do I really want to continue looking at the data? So I agree with you, the whole data trust, and then who owns the data, because everybody's like trying to hoard the data and not share the data. Is like, oh my God, how do you make this possible? So during pandemic, as I was saying, Wilder was born, but also I was writing a book. It's called The AI Factor, which is coming out February 14th. Actually, it just came out February 14th. And the book talks about, so I spoke about four-step process, because everybody's now trying to get on this wavelength of AI. And what is AI? Because the definition of AI now is so loose. Everybody's putting data analytics and data science and deep learning, machine learning into AI. But how do you really make it happen? How do you really start this journey? And I talk about the four steps, and I say that really what you need to really understand is, first of all, realize where you are. Are you still an optimizer? Are you innovator? Are you want to maximize it, expand your market? Or you really want to become a multiplier, which means you're really taking data as a core element to exponentially grow your organization. But the second step is data readiness. And the data readiness, I kind of talk about the power of data readiness framework, where you need to think about organizational maturity and internal competency. And when I talk about organizational maturity, I start with strategic objective. I say executive engagement or buy-in is super important. And then you talk about the alignment of the overall business goals, and then come to the impact on financial goals, and then operational efficiency. And right after that, I talk about data management. I talk about why data management is so critical, because you need to have data accessible. You have to have data secure, the data trustworthy, quality, and data governance. Who owns the data and how you define that? Uh, do you want to maybe comment on what your thoughts are on the 8 elements I just spoke about?
Sure. So, look, I think that you're spot on, from all of those elements perspective. I do think, though, it's hard when you're such a large enterprise. I think what we have found is that the data readiness part and the data governance part, it can't be a check the box activity. It needs to be something that we're fostering data literacy, and we're embedding it in everything that we do, which takes time. In our program, what I've observed is that we have to have the different business executives. Your point on senior buy-in is so critical. And it's not that it's like a one-time buy-in and then it's forgotten. So on a monthly basis, we're getting together our most senior business unit executives who all have these federated data office responsibilities with stewards for their specific data, because we didn't believe that one central team would have all of the answers, right? We want people to be able to know their data and like how that's affecting their products and the services and the different jobs that they're doing and performing every day. And so I do think that having the observation that I've had is that certain areas were more mature, to your point, like our risk business unit and organization, extremely mature. And as a matter of fact, they actually take the lead for enterprise on all things AI and ML from a new use case perspective. So how my team helps them is that we are trying to kind of lay down that data readiness foundation. And when they're sourcing data from some of these different other business units, how are we rallying to then make sure they have the best quality data going in? The other thing is that we are providing the infrastructure and the tools. So it's my team's role to, as a product organization, a data product organization, to then work with our engineering or technology teams to now develop the latest and greatest ways for you to access that data, for you to analyze that data, for you to model with that data, and for that data to have that movement that is required to now appear in the different use cases and experiences that we want it to. So it's a really exciting kind of role to play. And it can't be that my team does everything. So I love the fact that when we thought through this, we have all of the executives and we're constantly meeting and we're working together on how we further, data in our company, whether it's the governance aspect, the AI modeling perspective, the tooling. It's a village, and it's been beautiful to be a part of.
You definitely want the village to participate and be aligned, but also there could be challenges because, as you said, some are ahead, some are behind. And how do you pull the departments or the functions or the teams which are behind? How do you pull them ahead? I talk about the internal competency around engagement. Why the usage or data literacy or the culture or the enterprise engagement. I talk about executive engagement in the beginning, but then I talk about enterprise engagement is so important. And then I talk about transformation only happens when you build something which is so good. As you said, one department builds something which they're ahead of the game, their maturity is advanced. How do you build something which is scalable or adaptable or repeatable? So you can really take that and repeat it with the other functions and bring the people who are left behind forward with you. Can you talk a little bit about these elements in your organization?
Sure. And look, it is that enterprise effect that I think we all struggle with. And I think people will hear enterprise and again, they might assume one team is doing everything and has all of the answers. But I think my team has been pretty great about being curious and also being a little bit humble to saying, hey, when we see one of the other business units doing something and doing it well, we want to take that in. We want to better than the overall program. And we'll have them come and help then the other business units, come up to speed. So I feel like we're very thoughtful and selective, I think, in how we progress this without kind of assuming we have all of the answers. And that kind of curious and learning agile mindset, if you will, is a game changer. And not taking the enterprise like so kind of cross the T dot the I, as much as it is about the journey that we're on to continue to learn and grow how data continues to be I think it is that factor in making the difference of where we're going to go next as a company.
So, as we come to a close of the session, share with the audience one takeaway or one best practice or one giveaway, a gift you would give them, is that if they're in the field of data or they're a business user, what's one thing they could do to make sure that their data initiatives or data governance initiatives are successful?
Yeah, I would say continue to recognize that everybody has a role to play when it comes to data. Some roles are very specific, like the stewards and the custodians. And I do think every part of your company, every person in your company can do a much better job focusing on, whether it's in the discovery work of something that they're about to solution and build out, whether it's in the consumption side of the models that they're building, or a new report, or analytical insight that they're working on, and trace those connections back. Like, you don't have to be a data expert. I think the other day somebody said to me, "You're such a data expert." And I had two kind of weird responses to that. My first response is like, I am? What is a data expert? And then I'm like, I am, right? Like, everybody is an expert on data, or at least an angle or perspective of it. And that is really important. So I would say trace that through it and keep pushing.
I love that. And I would say that if you are on a data governance journey or a data journey, I would say this data journey, think about the alignment. I think it's so important that the technology and business is aligned, that you are making a conscious effort of including and understanding. I think sometimes we just listen because we are trying to react. Can we really listen to listen and understand? That's really crucial, because as a data leaders, as a data engineers, as a data user, you need to really truly understand what the data purpose is and how can you truly apply that to have a successful outcome. We all want to be on a journey of AI. I think we all want to jump right ahead and take the leap and see the outcomes, and we want to rush to it. But I think having a strong foundation of data would help you be more successful. So invest in the data so that you can actually get the results, which we are so eager to get.
So Asha, you had just asked me maybe what are some of the things that I would take away, and as I was reflecting, I think one of my biggest observations in my own career, being kind of product owner and then leading engineers, and now coming into a data role, is that when we are in the thick of agile and working through whatever features and development that we're doing, we definitely are clear on our product owners, we're clear on our engineers and architects and our designers, but we often thought about how we were going to measure it and the reporting needs as an aftermath. And coming into a team like this, where we are then, we're all kind of sitting on our back foot sometimes, and we're saying, hey, no, we got to get more upfront, and we need to be talking with the business units and the teams that are kind of launching these new technologies, and thinking ahead, and then making sure that everything we do from a data perspective is kind of happening along with our agile, process, right? How we discover, how we solution, how we're approaching kind of the bigger outcome we're looking to drive. Do you find that others are kind of working and making those transitions too?
I see this as a very common issue, which you brought up. I think a lot of the companies or a lot of the teams start working on issues immediately. They're into the micro, not so much into macro. So when there's a business unit is working on a application, or they come to the technology team or the data team, they're in the weeds. They have their hands dirty. They're not thinking about the outcome. They're not thinking about measure at that time. They're trying to just get things done. And during that time, there is no time, because they're trying to just do their one task to the other. There is no time to think about how we're going to measure it. So this is a very common issue. And I think the leaders who succeed in actually going reverse think about macro first. So they think about the big picture. And I think it's so important as a leader, either you are that person who's thinking about the big picture, or you have somebody on your team who can think about the big picture. Either you're a business unit who starts with thinking, okay, this is the outcome we want. How are we going to measure it? What are the big metrics we should be thinking about? And how do we make this program successful? What are the key success metrics for us? But if you're not asking that and you're not communicating that, so maybe somebody discussed it, but just never communicated to the teams, Yeah. So how do you actually understand it, discuss it, communicate it, and make sure that it's always in the front of the people who are actually building the technology? And that's the key point to convert that mindset. But a lot of times I would see that so that what you're talking about is, I would say, at least 80% of the teams are getting into the weeds more than thinking about the outcome.
Yeah, and I can't agree more. I would add too that even if you think you're thinking of the outcome, like click into that one step further and say, great, okay, now you've defined your metrics and your measures, but do you have the data along the way that you're going to need to make that real and make that come to life? So I love that.
Yeah, or you're collecting the data. You
Yeah.
might not even be collecting that data.
What do you even need
So
to change now? Make that happen. Exactly.
exactly. Two data geeks talking to each other and loving that. I
Yes.
know. So hopefully I would say that just a quick reminder to people who are listening is that those are the minute changes you can make for a big win. And these are micro changes that can actually create a big win.
Can't agree more.
And also, it's a Women's History Month. So enjoy the Women's History Month, celebrate, promote another woman, promote the cause. If you're interested in learning about women leaders in data and AI, or WLDA as we call it, send me a message. I'm always available on LinkedIn or on the website. Reach out to me or Danielle to learn about WLDA or about data. We are here to have the conversation. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you, Asha. Keep inspiring us.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.